fourth chapter of Cynthia B. Cohen's book, Renewing the Stuff of Life. In the fourth chapter, titled The Moral Significance of Early Human Embryos and Religious Thought, each different religion and their religious texts are explained out in a way so that we might understand their views of abortion and embryonic stem cell research, and in particular the words they use in their particular scriptures to explain whether or not they allow it. Starting with the allowance of religious voices in public, then focusing on Christian tradition and Western Christian tradition, and leading up to the effects of scientific revolution and the steps taken up to today's research in embryonic stem cell research. Then we lead up to the current views of moral significance of early human embryos within the Christian religion and the moral significance of early embryos in several other different religions such as Jewish, Islamic, Buddhism, and Hinduism, and then concluding in the regards of human embryonic stem cell research. Some religions teach that the embryo, even from conception, is an individual with every right of a human being, and therefore should be protected this way. Human beings are believed to reflect the image of the divine, and to destroy that is to throw away the gift of life. Other religions do not believe the embryo is a human being till a set time or the growth of a particular body feature. They allow stem cell research if it is helpful towards healing the sick or hurt. In the United States, those on the side against stem cell research have voiced their views loudly and put down verbally anyone who disagrees. This has led people not involved to question the allowance of religious voices to be loud in public and only within their places of worship. One person on the side against religious voices, but under reason, is Robert Oddie. His views is that they should be allowed only to express their views on the matter if they have a said reason for doing so with reliable truth and evidence. Through this he believes he will silence a lot of religious protesting. But how can you tell if their reasons are adequate and if they are allowed not to speak? To know whether or not a reason is valid or not, it is important to grasp each religion's traditions, texts, and rationales to their claims. This can help to realize how these people came to their conclusions about a particular subject. When some religious representatives present perspectives, some people who aren't familiar with these perspectives will not be able to follow the discussions. This could allow the speaker to use ideas that have no relation to exactly what they are discussing. This supports the point of knowledge of several different religions again. To exclude, though, the religious voices is to deny a good mixture of contributions to debate and to figure out the right reasonings for stem cell research. Until most recently, the U.S. has been listening to one religious viewpoint to discuss the morality of embryonic stem cell research. This reliance on only one viewpoint has tainted good decision-making in the public. Using only one viewpoint as well and shunning the others places into question the fairness and respect needed of the moral values of others. In Christian tradition, the embryo is treated as a human being from conception. Although a few Christians groups say that the human being does not come into existence at fertilization but at a later date, all of these people start from the same place but have different views of when it is okay to use an embryo for stem cell research. Christians look towards the Bible for their teachings, morals, and beliefs of life. They use different parts of it to answer whether or not an embryonic stem cell research is bad in the eyes of the divine. The first one mentioned is Genesis 1:26, which says that human beings were created in the image of God. This has been read in several different ways, such as the divine imprint was placed on the embryo, and because of this, it is a human being from conception. By this logic, all humans at all times are images of God. Then there's the story of Adam and Eve, and that is introduced but gives no mention of embryos. So the concept of image of God could mean that humans have the ability to enter a relationship with God. So this concept applies to already living beings and still no mention of embryos. Embryos are simply not mentioned here at all to answer the question. Christians also give another passage by the name of Jeremiah 1:5, which says that God knew us before we were conceived, and this gives hints to some life before existence. The Christian religion denies such views, so this passage is null by their own beliefs. Another passage is Psalm 139:13-16a. It reads about the growth of a human from an embryo to a form resembling a human. From this, some people see this as a person already having their individuality because it was God who formed him in their womb. So by this logic, all embryos are humans from conception, but still does not state when development begins. Scholars can make many interpretations of the Bible's scriptures, but cannot find conclusive evidence of early embryos being human beings. Continuing to Western Christian tradition, they believe that an early embryo is not an individual, but it is still wrong to kill because it interferes with procreation. The starting point of the view of significance of early embryos is found in Exodus 21:22-25. This is the only place that it refers to embryos. It is placed there to protect a pregnant woman, but not necessarily the fetus inside, because an embryo is not allowed the same protections as a human being. Aristotle studied the anatomy of embryos to better understand the human body. His analysis led to these steps of the growth of embryos. First, he said that we formed a vegetative soul to take nutrition from the mother to form our body. Second, we got an animal soul to have sensitivity and to form third our organs. And then fourth, we received a rational soul, which gave us the power of reason, and thus we were a complete human. This analysis led early Christians to believe that the unformed embryo was not yet human and that the formed one was, so a time was set to determine the individuality of the embryo. The effects of scientific revolution have changed much over time. Early Christians did not know much about sperm or eggs, or how a woman becomes pregnant. So knowledge of such was scientific and the morality of it was unknown. Interest of it grew in the 16th and 17th centuries. Scientists did this by examining dead and alive human bodies. This info made Aristotle's findings questionable. Two theories of fertilization were found in the 17th century: Aristotle's developmental theory and the preformation view. The preformation theory was reasoned that the body parts of humans were already there in the eggs and sperm, but had to only be joined to grow with the mother's nutrients. Aristotle's view was rejected in 1633 when William Harvey began experiments on deer fetuses. Anton van Leeuwenhoek viewed sperm through a microscope and claimed to see a human body in the head of the sperm, and thus supported the preformationist view. The Christian Church gives human embryos great respect and allows them potential to become full humans, but does not make them equal. The final judgment is that they allow research on embryos any time before the 14th day of conception. The embryonic stem cell research also relies to other religions as well, such as Jewish, Islamic, Buddhist, and Hinduism. To the Jewish tradition, most believe that the embryo is considered water until after the 40th day after conception, and only allowed for research if the purpose for them is reasonable and beneficial. In Islamic tradition, they follow the Quran, and by its passages, the embryo is a human being at 128 days after conception, but consensually agree that it is ensouled at 5 days after conception. A majority of scholars would allow stem cell research by these words. The Buddhist tradition is highly against killing of humans, but would allow embryonic stem cell research if it was ultimately necessary for others. In Hindu tradition, the belief is strong in rebirth, and thus abortion and removal of the embryo is bad karma. But some alternative Hindus traditions place individualism at 3 to 5 months. Some Hindus today accept stem cell research to help people. The studies of several different religions give several different morals to the use of embryos in stem cell research, and by this should each be heard to evaluate the use of those embryos. The priority to one's religion's views is only a biased attempt to be the one on top and is not respectful of others' views. Each idea needs to be set out into the public so that they can become compromised towards a better solution in today's embryonic stem cell research.